Hello, Uplift team and family. My name is Jonathan Dant. I'm the Managing Director of Curriculum and Instruction. Today, this video is going to walk through the basic features of Zoom. It is our quick start guide to get you up and running to have meetings with either teachers, scholars, or other staff on Zoom. We're going to talk about a couple of things today. The first thing is really scheduling the meetings and how to do that. And then once you are in the meetings, what are the features that you can and will do? Again, this is just a quick start guide to the biggest features that are on here. For more in-depth features and tutorials, those videos will be separate. First, we're going to talk about how do you schedule meetings on Zoom. On your Zoom homepage, through any web browser and you're logged in, you're going to want to go to either host a meeting to schedule a meeting or go to my account. And then you can go down to where it says meetings on the left-hand side. This will show me already the meetings that I have scheduled already. If you don't have any meetings scheduled, then they're not going to show up here. And then you can go to click schedule a new meeting. This will pop up a box where you can enter information for your meeting. First thing is a title. So let's say I'm a teacher and I have an ELA, and this is my first section. I can click that on here. And then you can enter a meeting description down here. Then you can also choose the date and time of this meeting or class. So I want it at Monday, I want it at 9 a.m., and then it will be an hour long. Again, this will not matter so much because the meeting will go on as long as you are hosting the meeting. And so it's not going to kick you off after an hour, so you don't need to worry about the duration. That's just what will go into the invitation if you send out a full Zoom invitation. The same thing for time zones. This can be on a central time zone. Again, that's not going to matter a whole lot other than pulling up your own schedule. Next, I can click if this is a recurring meeting. So if I'm teaching this class every day, every other day, I'll just click on recurring. And then again, I can go in here and work with the settings depending on how often. Again, it doesn't really matter if you get this right or wrong. If I click recurring, it just keeps that link open and active. And so if I have the same meeting with scholars every day, every other 2 days, this will keep the same link every single time. So they don't have to click on a new link for every class that they sign in with me. Registration required. This is only if you need people to register beforehand to come to your meeting. I would just not worry about this. The bigger things, though, are your passcode and or your waiting room. So if you require your scholars and or anybody who's coming to this meeting to have a passcode, you can have a special passcode written in here. Any alphanumeric passcode will work. The waiting room is once people click on the link to your meeting, they won't automatically go into the meeting room. They will live in a space called the waiting room. And then you as the host have the ability to let people in from the waiting room or keep them in the waiting room. So if anybody tries to Zoom spam or comes in off a link that's not one of your students, you'll be able to keep them out of the room if they're just in the waiting room. Same thing with the passcode. If this person has the link but they don't have the passcode, then they won't be able to enter your meeting. Next, this will just say, do you want all your participants to start with their video on? Same thing for you as a host. I would say yes. As a part of my class, I would want all of my students to have their videos on. So this will just start them with their videos on. And then you'll have to keep the expectation that they have their video on the entire time. Audio, this will allow people to join either via telephone only, just through their computer device or whatever they're joining from Zoom, or to allow them to use both. This will allow you to join before the host. So I like to click yes on this. So in case I'm running late, this will allow people to come into the meeting. Again, they're going to stay in the waiting room until they're allowed in, as long as they have the waiting room open. Mute participants upon entry. If you want them muted or not, you can click yes or no. Next feature, the the breakout rooms pre-assigned. So let's say that you have your students and you want them in specific groups. You can go ahead and create those breakout rooms by clicking the button that says create rooms. This will allow you to create multiple breakout rooms and then add the participants that you want in here. This, you'll have to know their email so that when they join, it'll allow you to pre-assign them to the breakout rooms. So if you know your students' emails, you already want them in specific groups, you can do this before your meeting has started, or you can do it once the meeting has started. Next, if you want to record the meeting automatically, you can click this. As soon as the meeting starts, as soon as you start it, it will automatically record, and you can record it either on a local computer or in the cloud. And then if you have co-teachers or anybody else who may be that you want to give the hosting rights to other than yourself, you'll need to enter their email addresses here. And then you'll just click on save, and then your meeting has been saved. And you can add it to your Zoom calendar. You have the link that you can send to any of your scholars or participants, or you can click copy invitation. We'll copy all of the information. So this is all you need to do in order to set up and schedule. Next, we're going to talk about how to start or host a meeting and what are some of the big ticket features that you'll be using the most in an education setting in Zoom. Once I'm on the Zoom webpage, I'm going to click on my account, and then I'm going to go to meetings on the left-hand side, and it's going to show me all of the meetings that I have coming up. So if I'm getting ready to start my first meeting, then I'm going to go to where it is, which will say today. This is ELA section 1. I can click on start. It may, if you're on the web browser, want to open up the Zoom desktop application. And so I'm going to click on open, and then it will open it up. And then it'll ask you to join with computer audio or to test your speakers and mics. Since I'm the host, I'm going to click on join with computer audio. Now I'm looking at you right now, and I'm going to turn this way because I have two screens running. And so I'm going to be working on the other screen. This is not about necessarily watching me, because I'll show you some other features on here really quickly. So this is probably a little meta as well, because I'm looking at myself and now you're watching the screen, and here we go. So if I need to mute myself, there's the mute button, obviously the stop video button, the security. So if you want to turn off your waiting room, you can click enable waiting room, and that will disable it if it's not checked, or I can enable it. Again, if you're working with scholars, you want to make sure that you have the waiting room there or a passcode so that you can't have anybody just join the meeting randomly. You can lock the meeting. So if you're in a meeting and you click on locked, nobody else can join your meeting. So this is another security feature. And then down here under security, it also allows you to allow participants to either share their screens, chat, rename themselves, or unmute themselves. And so these are all things that you may or may not want your participants to do. Lastly, on here, this will show all of my participants. When also participants, if you have a waiting room, you can come down and click on here, and it will show your waiting room up here and who you can let in or who you don't let in. Next, you may see features like polls or chat. So polls will let you send out a question, and then you'll just click add a question. Or you can have questions already generated so that you may send out to students. I'm going to go back into here. Next, the chat obviously is your chat feature with whomever is there. When you go to the chat, it'll pull up your screen. I can minimize or close my participants, and then I can click down here to if I want to chat to everybody in the meeting. If there was somebody else in the meeting, right now I'm alone, it will allow you to private chat students or anybody who's in here by pulling up all of their names here. Lastly, if you enable reactions, you can come on here to have your reactions, and then you can go to more to do breakout rooms. So if you want to have students in breakout rooms, you can either do it automatically or you can click manually. You can have the number of rooms. So let's say you have 15 scholars in your class and you want them in groups of 5, then I would want 3 rooms. Automatically will just randomize how kids are placed in a room or any of your participants. Manually will let you manually add and assign people. So if you want to push people around into different rooms, you would do that by clicking manually. And that will put kids in different rooms. Once you are in your breakout rooms, you have the ability to broadcast to all of the breakout rooms. You can go to breakout rooms, and this will be your whole list here. If you go to options, it will open up all of these different options. You can also, you'll want to click up open up all rooms. It will send everybody to their rooms. There's a broadcast feature which lets you send a message to all of the rooms. So if you want to give everybody heads up, maybe they have 2 minutes left, you would click broadcast, click in 2 minutes left, and that will send it all to the breakout rooms. And lastly, you are able to, from the breakout room window, jump around in and out of your breakout rooms. So if you or your co-teacher is in there, make sure your co-teacher, again, is that co-host. And then you can click leave room, and then you can jump around and go into different breakout rooms. You'll also have the ability to move kids in and out of different rooms. So if you have a scholar in one room and realize that the other room is much smaller, for example, or they need to go and they want to present in a different group, you would just have you can just move scholars around into different breakout groups. And lastly, you can end the breakout rooms. So you would click, if the breakout rooms were open right now, I would just click in breakout session, and that would bring everybody back. Again, the default timer is 60 seconds. So it will tell them that their breakout room is going to close in 60 seconds, and then they can leave themselves. Otherwise, after 60 seconds, the breakout room will close and they will all come back to the main room with you. So this gives them a minute to wrap up their discussions. Like, you can build that into your expectations as a part of your class. And then lastly, this is recording because we had it recorded. If not, you can just click on pause or stop, and then that will end the recording. But you can always go to more and click on record on this computer or record to the cloud. And lastly, to end a meeting, you can either leave the meeting or you can click end meeting for all, and that will shut it off for everyone. So I would imagine when you are working with scholars and you are the only adult, then I would click end meeting for all. And then that will turn off the meetings. Right now you can see it says convert meeting recording. So because I was recording for part of that time in Zoom, it's going to go ahead and do that for me. Lastly, I want to make sure that you can go into your settings for Zoom and get all of the features that you want by default into any of your meetings. So if you're on your account page, you'll want to go down to where it says account management on the left-hand side. You're going to click that, and then you're going to go to account settings. So these are all of the settings that will automatically be defaulted anytime you create a meeting. And will turn on any of those special features that you have seen. So you can click on waiting room, and these will walk you through each of the features and give you a brief description. But if I want to have a waiting room for all of my meetings, I'm going to click turn it on and then click turn it on. And that way, anytime I schedule a meeting, there's automatically going to be a waiting room, and I don't have to worry about whether or not I click that. And then, right, the same things for requiring a passcode, all of those things that you want to think about in security. Scheduling a meeting. So if I want all of my meetings to have participant videos on automatically, as that's the default setting, I'm going to click turn on, and then I'm going to click the button that says turn on, so that all of my participants have their video on automatically when I schedule a meeting. Same thing for here. Again, and this will walk you through all of those features when you're scheduling a meeting that you want as your default setting. You can, again, change these for any meeting that you want to do, but this will be what's automatically checked when you're scheduling meetings. Last, when you're in, keep scrolling down to when it says in meeting, and then this will allow you to turn chat on or off for the meeting. It will allow you to turn private chat on or off for your meetings. It will allow you to file transfer. So if people have files that they want to transfer to each other, you can allow that. You could turn that off if you don't want students sharing files with each other. The sound notification when someone leaves or joins, I have that off. You could have that on. And this will also allow you to click on add polls. So if you want to have those polls up and available, you can do that. It'll allow you as a default to share your screen. And then you can say that only the host can, or I can allow students to share their screen too. So be mindful of these settings and be thinking about that as you go through. Now, annotation is by literally like marking up the screen when you're in a Zoom meeting. And so you can allow your host, which is yourself, or your participants to use the annotation tools to add information to the shared screen. So this will allow you to mark up your screens using like a pen or a highlighter or different features like that. And so when you're in the meetings, I would click annotations. And then you can click on only the user who is sharing their screen can annotate. So if I'm sharing my screen, let's say I'm sharing a close reading passage and I want all of my kids to see it, then if I'm sharing it, I'm the only one who can annotate the screen. If this is not clicked, any student has the ability to annotate on there. So just be mindful of that. Same with the whiteboard. So when you go to share screen, you can click on the whiteboard, and that just opens up a blank whiteboard, a digital whiteboard. And it'll give you tools to allow you to use a marker, a highlighter, a pen, whatever it may be, to have if you just want to like mark up the screen like you would have a digital whiteboard. So you want to make sure this feature is on. And again, it will allow you or others to interact with that whiteboard. And really, just read through the features and see if those are features that you want, again, to be default in there or to be accessible during your meetings. So that's just the last feature that we are walking through today. So I wanted to say thank you for joining us in our Zoom Quick Start Guide session. Further videos with more information on how to use some of these features in a classroom setting are forthcoming. This was just to get you an overview of the basic features. If you have any further questions, you can submit an IT help test ticket. And I really encourage you to go to the Zoom website. On any of their pages at the top, there's a black bar. In the top right corner, there's a support button. There are many video tutorials on there, as well as walkthrough guides on all of the features of Zoom, and it's pretty substantial. So thank you again, and I hope you have some great Zoom meetings coming up.